I'm
No.
thirsty and hungry and I'm tired. Kind of want a nap. Um, okay. Well, where do you want to start, Alex? Now I don't even know what to do with myself. I'm all thrown off
No, and I
and
completely
everything.
forgot everything I ever knew about rogues.
Okay. I think we left off at BlizzCon. BlizzCon was good, by the way. Um, just to round that up real quick.
Uh,
I got to meet JR, actually, the guy that was just in here, and a whole bunch of other people were on staff, which is really cool. And I got to meet a bunch of game developers, which is really cool too. And I stood in a lot of lines. So, and Olivia Grace, I saw her. I didn't get to meet her, but I did see her. She was throwing. She actually hit me in the crowd at the Wowhead party. She hit me with something. She threw something at me. It was like a Monopoly pieces or something, and she hit me right in the head. So thanks for that.
hey, Liv.
Yeah, that was
That's
great.
not nice.
That was really nice. So thank you. I still have them, but thanks for hitting me in the head. But it was good. No, it was a lot of fun. But but anyways,
We
probably
got to talk about rogues.
yes, assassination rogues. That actually, like I said earlier, before everything started going to poop, is that I actually been playing a rogue since Wrath. So I actually know quite a bit about it. It's changed a lot over the years, obviously, but it does all kind of play the same. Especially these past couple of years, they've really kind of balanced it out where not a lot has changed. So I guess the first thing to hit up is the tiers and the tier descriptions of what exactly the rogues tier talents can do for you. So tier one, I guess, all that stuff it does is improve your stealth. There's a lot of different ones. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. I like to use Shadow Focus, which causes your abilities to do 75% less damage while in stealth, or abilities cost 75% less energy while in stealth. So that works really well with Vanish, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of PvE, which is what I do. But we'll talk about that a little bit later in the rotation. What about the second tier, Alex? What do you think about that?
What I think about it is that my little gnome rogue is probably going for the combat readiness, I think. Just because it's, well, the other ones aren't as nice.
Yeah, Deadly
I mean,
Throw.
Deadly Throw is more of a PvP talent
Yeah, it
anyway,
is.
and Nerve Strike is well, if you want to stun things and everything like that. But I mean, it's with talents, it's not like the cookie cutter builds that they used to be back when you guys started in Wrath.
Yeah, combat readiness does make a huge difference.
Yeah,
It's one of those skills where, you get, it will deal 10% less damage per application for 5 times, so it's 50%, which is really good. And on a 2-minute cooldown and lasting for 20 seconds, it does make a pretty big difference in your survivability, which is kind of what tier 2 is all about, is survivability.
crowd
So
control and survivability.
yeah,
Yeah.
it makes a big. That's more of a. I want to say it's more of a PvP kind of talent tree. Combat readiness, though, it works in all specs. I think it's best for PvE, but that's completely. I guess it's completely up to you. It is what it is. The 45 one though, tier 3 actually is really interesting because a lot of that depends on, especially for PvE, depends on the fight itself. Whereas a lot of people now will use cheat death if there's a lot going on, especially for progression. They used a lot of cheat death. Whereas I saw a lot of people also using leeching poison, but a lot of it depends on the type of fight, whether you need to use for your utility poison. If you need that extra healing on yourself, the leeching poison is great. But if you do need to use like something like mind numbing poison on ads, or if you need to use some kind of slowing poison, that makes the biggest difference in the fight. So it really, that one depends on, a lot of it depends on what you plan on doing in the fight itself. So
But I mean, if you have feint, like that will reduce a lot of damage
Yeah.
on most encounters, on like AoE damage and everything. So I guess just the best one for PvE situations must be elusiveness, though, because cheat death feels like a lot of PvP as well. Like, I don't know how many times I've been in the arena and the rogue just won't die.
Yeah, rogues are pretty good at that, especially now. I mean, back then, I mean, if you want to go all the way back to vanilla, I mean, my goodness, one ambush would one-shot someone. So, I mean, they've come a long way since then in terms of balancing. They used to be just raw DPS, and now it's almost like they're built for utility rather than straight raw DPS like they used to be. Because a lot of the classes have caught up in DPS. Rogues used to be very, very dominant in that regard, and they went for a while. It was especially in Wrath. Rogues weren't as needed. So the AoE back then wasn't as good as it is now, and the raw DPS had suffered with the Death Knight coming out, and the Death Knights at the time were just incredibly strong, wearing plate. So the Assassination rogues, I mean, I played Assassination back then as well, and combat switched between the two specs for this different fights that we needed to do, and they've come a long way. I'm very happy with the changes that Blizzard has made.
As far as I can remember, rogues. Back in ICC, we had a rogue in our team, and he was combat, but he changed to Assassination towards the latter parts of the expansion because I think it kind of changed.
Yeah, it felt a little bit better. I thought it was a little bit easier, not easier to play, but I think it felt better. But I guess that's neither here nor there. But moving on to
nice use of words. One point to that.
On the level 60 talent tree, Shadow Step is by far my favorite. That's the whole point of the rogues to be your melee DPS. You need to be in there actually hitting things. And a lot of people will also use it as part of their rotation, as part of their opening, is to use Shadow Step as well. With tricks of the trade if they want to be careful of their aggro initially. But of course, something else we'll talk about later in the rotation part. Yeah, because that also helps too with the buff. So.
I'm just so happy that it's a talent now rather than just exclusively for subtlety rogues, because that's the only talent, the only ability I ever tried when I respec my rogue to subtlety, because I had this idea of going into the arena, but all I did was to just like Shadow Step critters in Stormwind.
Right. Well, see, I mean, the other thing is, I mean, the two others in that tier are Cloak and Dagger and Burst of Speed. And Cloak and Dagger is obviously good for your PvP stuff, with your ambush and your cheap shot, and all that abilities can be used from 40 yards away. So, obviously that's huge in PvP. That's what you're all about. Whereas Burst of Speed, you already have a sprint. I mean, we already have a sprint button. So I feel like having that. I mean, yeah, I guess it's good to have that on command instant burst of speed for 70%, but Shadow Step, I feel like, is just so good. I mean, it puts you right where you want to be most of the time. It depends on which fight it was. I remember back in Wrath, you used to use Shadow Step on towards the latter part of the instances in ICC, and you'd like fall to your death and stuff. I had to take it off my bars, accidentally hit that a couple times, and that wasn't very fun. So Shadow Step's definitely your strongest there. 75 tier, Prey on the Weak. When you disable an enemy with Kidney Shot, Cheap Shot, Gouge, Sap, that kind of stuff, they suffer 10% increased damage. So that's an instant 10% for you. And that's what rogues are all about, is stacking that type of stuff, getting that damage on that target, high damage. And something else we'll talk about too is getting that rupture on there for your energy ticks, which make a big difference when you have those small increases, that 10% or that 5% increased damage. It does add up over time. So what do you think? I mean, there's paralytic poison and dirty tricks.
I
still think Brand is the best, honestly.
Yeah, I don't feel dirty tricks is really the best of them, but keep in mind I am the rogue noob here in this company, but definitely not. And I was going to say about Shadow Step, if you're a melee noob like I am, I don't see where I'm going.
Right.
Shadow Step, excellent for that. It's just like I'm not used to being able to see like the kneecaps of a boss,
Right.
So I would recommend that for everyone that's trying it out as well.
For 90, I mean, what do you think? Obviously, anticipation is the best for 90. The only argument you can make is with marked for death, is that if you can kill certain ads in under a minute, then obviously the talent resets, which is kind of ironic because it's a 1 minute cooldown anyways. So I mean, what are you really gaining out of that? I mean, you're instantly generating 5 combo points. So yeah, that burst DPS is absolutely humongous. Um,
Mm.
and especially if you're gonna be doing a lot of target switching. So, you could you get your 5 combo points in Venom, Rupture, go into your next target, 5 combo points in Venom, Rupture, that kind of stuff. And then
Yeah.
if you with using your add-ons, you can see where your ticks are, and if they start to drop off, you run back over, and that's when you start to dot up everything, and everything will just your DPS just go crazy. So I think anticipation is by far one of the best talents
Mm.
in that. Like I said, Mark for Death is very situational, and
But yeah,
Shrikatos is
like Reb says in the chat forum, Horadon with the ads there, I can really see the use for that there.
right. And like I
Because
said,
those ads need to go down.
like I said, that's very situational. But for
Yeah.
an overall, this is what's going to work for you most of the time. The level 90 anticipation is the one where that's what the one you want to go for, at least in my opinion. So
Yeah, well, in general, but I mean, all how the talent tree works nowadays is just like, I mean, I go through stacks and stacks of tomes to change my talents and glyphs all the time, depending on what fight I'm in. So,
sure.
which is part of the fun. So,
So yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that takes care of that. I mean, a lot of it too. This works with your stat priority. A lot of the stat priority, I feel like a lot of it's kind of the same for a lot of classes, especially for melee classes. Obviously, your strongest stat for Assassination Rogue is going to be agility. You get 2 for 1 on that, basically meaning you get twice the damage for each point of agility if you want to break it down to its most simple form. Hit rating, you need 7.5% is the hard cap. Same thing with expertise, 7.5% hard cap. So that way your attacks don't get dodged. You want to be able to hit 100% of the time. And it's especially important with your poisons. Since the poison and rupture is a big part of your damage as assassination, you need to make sure and have that stuff both hit capped. Mastery and haste after that. And then crit doesn't really matter because you're going to be critting anyways as a rogue. It's not that big of a deal.
all right.
I wish that haste was a little bit more important. Though. I wish haste was a bigger part of the stat priority because with all the extra haste you can attack. Energy replenishes faster. You have more opportunity for more damage. But it's just not the way it plays out in the way that Blizzard wanted to set it up. So. That's pretty much, I mean, a lot of the melee DPS is how that works. A lot of the hit rating expertise, and then whatever your main stat wants to be, other than like the rep pally, which we did last time. So,
Sorry.
what are you so happy about?
No, I'm oh, I've got the giggles now, thanks to the chat room.
Oh, okay.
But that's fine. That's fine. No, they're just. I think they think you are telling them things they already know.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. And that's the thing for people getting back into the character, or for maybe picking it back up after a long time. Some certain things have changed, but in terms of the reforging, a lot of it is the same. But it's still important to touch on because you are a pure DPS class. So if you're not capped in those positions in hit and expertise, you're no good to nobody. So. That's really important you do to do that. Use Reforge Lite. If you don't use that add-on, you should absolutely use it. It's very easy, very user friendly, and it'll help you out immensely. Until, of course, the next expansion comes out, Warlords of Draenor, which they're going to get rid of that altogether, and then we can just completely skip this part of our show.
Well, then we're going to have to change everything.
I know. Like, we can talk about now. I don't know. We can talk about whatever we want.
Of course, we're talking to you. Yeah, exactly. No, but I did read that, like, for fights where you can't stand behind the boss, it could be good to have some extra expertise so you won't get parried. And that immediately comes to mind for Dragon Soul with, like, Ulthraxion or Deathwing, where you had rogues shadow stepping behind them and just falling off.
That was the worst. That was so embarrassing. You didn't mean to do it either,
And Magma, exactly. I wasn't playing a rogue.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, especially when it's on like progression kills and you're like, man, I got this. And you're like, you're DPSing so hard and it's just a slip of the finger and it's just like, you're dead.
Yep.
That fast.
That was fun. I enjoyed that.
Made me sad panda.
Not so fun for the actual poor rogue.
No, because did we get yelled at. Oh my goodness, did we get yelled at. Mm-hmm. At least I got yelled at.
To Magma, I will never forget when Miss Grace on her paladin tank auto ran into the lava when she was pregnant. That is one of my
See,
best
even the best of us make
Oh
mistakes.
yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
What can you say?
Although at one point our other tank couldn't stop RP walking, which was fun. Tanking the Spirit Kings. He's like, I can't turn it off.
Oh man. So what's next? What's next? What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about glyphs or something? Yeah, we'll talk about some glyphs.
Talk about some glyphs.
Let's talk about some glyphs. This is really
I want to promote gnomes. My rogue is a gnome, and they don't need as much expertise because they have short blade specialization.
Well.
Oh yeah. So
there you go. Perks of playing.
Go the gnomes.
Perks of playing the less dominant faction is you get to save on some expertise.
Nothing wrong with the alliance.
There we go. Let the anger start. Really, there's only one glyph you actually need. Honestly, that's 100% required, which is Glyph of Vendetta, which gives you that extra 10 seconds of damage. It does decrease your overall Vendetta damage by 5%, but the extra 10% that you're going to get at a time out of that is huge, huge. Mm-hmm. So, and of course, there's other glyphs that are recommended. Glyph of Feint, Redirect, which helps a lot with your ruptures and that, and of course increases the Glyph of Feint increases the duration by 2 seconds. So, and anything to keep yourself alive to save. I mean, you're a healer to save the healers a little bit of stress and mana. It feels good to know that you have rogues in there that can cloak and can feint, and you have to dump those big heals onto them.
You're stood in the doo doo.
Yeah, don't stand in all of the doo doos.
Don't stand in the poop.
There's really not a lot to say actually about assassination rogues and glyphs. I mean, like I said, Glyph of Vendetta is really the only thing that's 100%.
Well, there are a lot of fun, minor glyphs, but the ones that there are several ones that are quite useful, but there are quite a lot of the miscellaneous stuff that is a lot of fun as well.
I mean, if you don't have like another rogue, if you're in a smaller group, like using Tricks of the Trade glyph on your tank is actually really good because it helps increase the tank's damage. So that's always a bonus. And something I remember I used to tell you a lot back when I was playing is that I love this warrior, and I would jump down off like cliffs or certain places, and I would die. And why did I just die? I don't understand. And I was so used to playing a rogue for so long that with that reduced fall damage, I kind of forgot. I was like, oh man, other classes, they don't, they don't have that.
Druid, kitty druids, I guess.
I mean, you can slow fall with a mage and that kind of stuff. But I mean, it's just that I don't think about it. I just jump down and I'm like, do, like,
And went splat.
Oops.
That was a very flat goblin. And no, definitely, the towers for Galakras. Not bear tank, just jump down. When he was on his hunter, he went flat too. So that's one of the hazards of the profession, definitely.
It's a good class. I mean, it's like I said, sometimes you take those classes.
Yeah, it's true. Panda rogues are even better.
For granted, you just don't think about it as much anymore. You play a class for 3 years in a row, and you kind of weird you out when you don't have those basic things anymore that you think everyone should have. Which I guess I really don't think that. I don't think everyone should have it. Just for rogues. Just because I just want
it. A rogue.
Just for me.
A blood elf rogue. A male blood elf rogue.
Something
else. Complain about my gnome.
Hey, don't bring this into it, okay? We're not going to talk about this. There's nothing wrong with my blood elf rogue, okay? He's literally right behind me. There's a giant poster, okay, right there. That was actually my Wrath set. That was like what, heroic, ICC, back in the day. Yeah, I don't know.
Back in your heyday.
What a good-looking guy that is back there. You can't really see him, but just imagine this very nice looking blood elf. There you go. See, I'm not the only one. Read chat. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
Something else that's actually changed quite a bit is
Draenei rogues. I would so love a Draenei rogue.
That's just weird.
Hoof to the face. Yes.
Good Lord. You're just not gonna let me transition, are you? Just gonna talk about all your dreams and aspirations for rogues.
Yeah.
And all the things that you can't
rather
play.
my dreams and aspirations for space goats. But okay, fine. You take the lead.
Something else that I'm actually. At first, I was kind of weirded out by it, but now I'm kind of happy that they have it. Is the poison? The way the poison works is that you have.
God, that's so much better.
Yeah, you're one lethal and then you're one utility. because it was really weird at first. I mean, it was like, wait, like what's going on here? There's no instant poison anymore. Like, this you don't have to shiv to get that instant poison up immediately. Like, they changed the whole mechanic of shiv. They didn't change it completely, but in a way, they did change it in regards to how it works with the poison application. So, but it was weird to switch to it. But now that I've switched to it for so long, I can't imagine going back to the way that it was. So, of course, you always want deadly poison on as your lethal. And then this is what makes the rogue kind of fun, is that your non-lethal is very situational. So it just depends on what you have going on, what your raid needs, what you can do to help out. So I can just hear you giggling. This makes me laugh.
Sorry.
So for example, like mind-numbing poison on Hordon for ads, which is huge. Using Shiv on the targets affected by mind-numbing poison actually doubles the casting time, so that's actually really good for the same reason. But a lot of that's not like you just stand there and press buttons like a lot of people think rogues do. I mean, a lot of it is situational in awareness. That's why. I mean, I don't want to say like you need to be a good player to play a rogue well, but I think in certain situations you do, because it is a lot of outside of the normal DPSing. It's a lot of it sometimes is helping out your raid team rather than I'm just going to come in and straight DPS and not care about anything else. It doesn't work that way. A lot of the best guilds in the world, they know these classes so well that's how the rogues are especially good at that, at helping out the team. So
yeah. No, I agree with you, and I guess I think there's a reason why rogues are they the least represented class out of all of them?
Yeah, last time I knew they were played the least. But like I said, that's simply because their raw DPS just isn't what it used to be. A lot of other classes have caught up now, and why? Yeah, arms wars are pretty bad too. But I love that. Yeah, arms wars. But I don't know, not to go too off topic, but I kind of like Arms Warriors, so I'm just gonna throw that out there. Don't be mad, but I like Arms Warriors. But I remember when I used to have to switch for certain fights. Like we would have certain poisons equipped on certain daggers in our inventory, and we'd actually have macros to switch those out really fast, depending on the certain fights that we were on. So I had to have crippling poison on one of my other daggers, and then switch it out for instant poisoning really quick. So a lot of that part of the mechanic of the game is gone, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because it was a lot of extra work at the time, and I was always kind of like, oh man, like, why me? Like, why am I playing this class? I have to do all this weapon switching. I
love that question.
Why can't I just be this shaman that doesn't do anything?
Have you heard of all the gazillion tokens?
No, I'm not talking about like recently. I'm talking about back in the day.
They were just there to press.
Yeah, they're there to press.
Sorry.
Chain lightning. But it's changed a lot. So, but the poisons are a huge part of your damage.
I love you that you don't have to buy them and keep stacks and stacks of them anymore. I just discovered that the other week when I dusted off my gnome. Just like, yeah. I'm kind of sad that the throwing weapon isn't there anymore because I had such a nice one. But yeah.
Yeah, I remember how long it did take me a long time to get my thrown weapon. I remember that in like Firelands.
Yeah.
It took forever. And then you log in one day and the thing's just grayed out and you're like, man, my life. Why is it work that way?
Yeah, well, they're trying to make it easier for you. It's just like, the poor hunters who had to have arrows and
I know.
And bullets and stuff. And running out and having to go back to Stormwind and buy new stuff. Or Dalaran, maybe it was. No, there wasn't an auction house in Dalaran back then. Silly me.
Well, that makes it does make it easier, that's for sure. And one thing, something else that they actually changed up quite a bit, and it's something they still continue to work on, is the rotation for Assassination. So something that I mentioned earlier was the applications of Rupture, and how that affects your DPS and also your energy gain. There's a couple rogues that I know that do that. They'll actually stack up their ruptures. You get your envenom. If you get your five ticks of envenom, you get 1 second initially, and then for every combo point you apply onto the target, you get an additional 1 second for the extra chance to apply the poison. So what they would do is they would 5 combo point envenom and then rupture, and then move on to the next target. Same thing. Move on to the next target, same thing. And by the time you get to the 4th target and do it, that first target is ready to be re-upped again. And you wouldn't believe, you just look back at all these numbers and you're seeing 50K, 60K, 35K, boom, 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 just on every single one of these targets. And it's like, wow. Not to mention that your energy is just staying, I mean, right where it should be. You're at like 50, 60 energy, it's just staying there. And you're like, man, this is awesome. So if you do need to start, getting that burst DPS going, you can actually do that. You'll pop your Vendetta and your blades, and all of a sudden you're just going crazy and doing all this damage. And actually, they did somewhat recently, buff Dispatch as well. And I have to admit, I love that. That's something that rogues didn't have for a long time, was that that instant ability. Rogues get you get
Shadow Web,
or something like that. Yeah, rogues didn't have that clicky shiny button that would just trigger. And that's why I like Dispatch, because it just adds a little bit more to the game. You're doing your rotation, and all of a sudden you see blindside procs, and you're just like, boom, Dispatch, and it does hit. It hits hard, and it feels good now. So I'm really happy. I'm really happy with that.
Satisfying ability.
Those procs, they feel good. I'm telling you, I feel like a paladin or a mage or something, except
not.
I'm not.
Yeah. And I mean, back in Cat, I played combat rogue mostly, and that's all slice and dice all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm quite fond of the cut to the chase ability, just so you just put on envenom, and that will refresh it over and over again.
It does feel.
I'm considering completely, going over to Assassination completely now.
It does feel good. It does feel good to know that even at 1 combo point and then Venom, that your slice and dice will completely jack up to 36 seconds, and that's huge. And even as long as slice and dice lasts now, it never even used to last that long. So they have made the rogue a little bit more lenient on your rotation, because I think they do want you to start hitting multiple targets. I think that's the point. I don't think they want you to sit there on one target and 1-1-1-1-1-2, 1-1-1-3, 1-1-1. It's
I've
because
heard
it's
that
the way it was
rotation many times.
For a long
My
time, especially in
ex-boyfriend was a
ICC.
rogue. That was just, they only did right now.
ICC and Firelands, that's all it was. It was like 1-1-1-1-1, 2, 1-1-1-1-1, 4. It's like, oh my goodness.
Arcane Mage. Well, not
I know,
now.
it's the same kind of thing, yeah. Arcane especially. But anyways, before I get too off topic, basic single target rotations mutilate above 35% unless blindside procs, in which you want to use your dispatch. So you want that pretty close to your mutilate on your keyboard or on your mouse, however you use your abilities. And then below 35%, you want to use dispatch. There's a lot to be said on the rogue DPS in this rotation. It's hard to kind of be like, okay, this is exactly what you do, because there is no this is exactly what you do. It's so situational. So we'll try to cover kind of the basics. This is in this situation you may do, or a single target or multiple targets. This is what you should do as a guideline. But there is oh my goodness, there is so much. So we talked about earlier, you want to apply and maintain slice and dice. That's one of your biggest things. You can never, ever, ever, never let that drop. Slice and dice is huge. So if you're getting low, even if you're down, you have 1 combo point or anything, and you need to envenom because you're down to like 1 or 2 seconds on your slice and dice, just use that envenom. It's really important that you keep that slice and dice up, and cut to the chase. If you've never played a rogue before that was implemented in the game, you have no idea how awesome that is. It saves you so much more pre-planning on pooling your energy, pooling your combo points, and making sure that slice and dice always stays up.
If I have to pick one out of the abilities that you
Tony,
have,
it's
I'm
so
going to have
good.
to pick that one, because, I like that.
It's so good. Obviously, Rupture's another huge thing. you need to keep it with 5 combo points as well. It's just one of those things where if you just go back and you just watch it, you just throw a couple ruptures on a couple target dummies, and wherever you happen to be, and you see those numbers just boom, 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 boom. It's insane to see how strong Rupture actually is. It never used to be that strong. It was something you would throw in if you had, if you had a really tight DPS rotation, you'd throw in a Rupture, and you'd kind of always keep it up if, the best that you could, but it wasn't like a priority like it is now. Rupture and Slice and Dice are your two biggest priorities, and when it comes to DPSing. I mean, well, how far are you with your rogue now? I mean, what do you think? Have you been doing some LFR, or what have you been doing?
No, she's. I have a confession to make. She has not dinged 90 yet.
Really?
No.
I thought she was already 90.
No, she's 85.
Oh.
So I'm still using like Dragon Soul LFR stuff.
But you see the same kind of pattern though. I mean, you can still see how that DPS works, and how keeping that stuff up does make a huge difference. So
absolutely, totally agree with that. Because I did respec for 2 assassinations just for tonight for you guys.
How about that?
Dedication, right?
Yeah, and then I couldn't even get the sound to work.
I know.
So all that pooled memories for nothing.
I know. They just disappeared as well with all the troubles. I didn't know what we were going to talk about.
All I want now is Dominoes. I want some Dominoes. So that's a lot of your single target rotation right there. When you're going to be fighting 2 to 3 targets, below 4, you're going to pretty much keep up the same thing. Use your deadly poisons, your mutilate, your dispatch, and your ruptures. And then, like I said, you just go and you use use those abilities on your multiple targets. And once those ticks start to wear down, you go back to those targets. So try to pick out your 4 targets, 1, 2, 3, 4. Doing your mutilates, then your ruptures, and venom to refresh your slice and dice. And same thing. Watch those ticks just go crazy. It'll feel really good to see all those numbers on the screen, and knowing that you're keeping up that rotation. It's kind of like using like an old warlock. It's using all those dots almost. It's difficult at first until you get the hang of it, and then it's like second nature. You don't even think about it, and that's why redirect is so important. That skill is amazing to see if you're falling behind a little bit, or you accidentally hit mutilate and you got 4 combo points. That redirect is your best friend at that point. Moving back onto that other target and using that ability to make sure your dots stay up is huge. Fan of Knives actually got a little bit stronger. Actually, the coolest thing was when they started implementing the idea of getting combo points with Fan of Knives. Like, that is so cool. Because I remember using Fan of Knives and you get nothing out of it. It's just, you're using Fan of Knives, congratulations. And it didn't even hit that hard.
It just looked cool. That was it.
Was
why I had like this polearm looking kind of throwing weapon. So it looked like I was throwing like spears all over the place.
It was so
didn't do anything, but it was nice.
It's the same, and it's the same thing with I mean, it's one of those things where you still want to use your deadly poison, you use your Fan of Knives and rupture, and that's pretty much it. I mean, because with the Fan of Knives, as you hit, the combo points start stacking up, so you can start rupturing different targets as you're going around. So a lot of it, like, again, has to do with a lot of target switching. But the fact that it even grants combo points now makes the biggest deal. It makes all the difference, because now you can keep your ruptures up, and you can envenom, and you can do these things that you couldn't do before, which is giving you crazy DPS boost, as to before, when all these other classes had these really nice AoE abilities, and we were kind of stuck with, I mean, we could get maybe off 120 energy or 110 energy back then. I think it was 100, was it 110? I can't remember now, 2-3 years ago. But you only get like 3 Fan of Knives, and then you have to wait like 3-4 seconds, you get another one, you wait again, and you get another one, and it's a lot nicer now. So
if you have a lot of targets, you just Fan of Knives and envenom, right?
Yeah.
And
8 or more targets, same thing. But now all you're really going to do at this point is spam Fan of Knives and use Venom to spend your combo points. So you just want to hit as hard as you can on certain targets that are getting low on health, and then just Fan of Knives, Fan of Knives, Fan of Knives.
Right. Okay.
Was it 130 energy? Man, that's been a long time. I think you're right. It wasn't that many though. Like, I remember you'd only get a couple. You get like 3 at most, like 3 Fan of Knives, and then and then you'd have to wait, and you have to pull your energy, and then but you weren't getting those combo points like you are now. So that's the biggest difference, is you can actually do something with those combo points. Like, again, it's all situational, whether or not you need to throw a recoup on yourself because something crazy is going on, or you just need to invent them to get those ads down for those extra hard DPS hits. So speaking of that, cooldowns is something else we want to touch on. There's not a lot of cooldowns. There's two big cooldowns, Vendetta and Shadow Blades, and you want to use those at the same time.
You're not going to be able to use them at the same time very often, but when you can, you should.
That's true. That's why I said you want to try. But with the Vendetta Glyph, it also helps out. Like I said, you get that extra 10 seconds, which is huge. And the Shadow Blades obviously increases the combo point regeneration damage of your melee attacks, your white melee attacks. So that's huge for just putting out that raw DPS, especially if you have something like, as you call it on your end of the world, heroism, and I call it on mine, bloodlust. It makes
may just call it time warp.
yeah. I guess that's our neutral.
My favorite is the hunters though. Ancient Hysteria.
Yeah, that actually sounds a lot cooler.
Yeah, that's my favorite. But yes.
So
back to the topic. I'm very good at that.
You are. You're really good at keeping me trying to get me down these dirt roads here. Let's talk about this. It's important though too to think, when you're thinking about using the cooldowns, how much time is left in the fight, and where you're at in the fight, and whether or not the boss is going to go into a transition, or ads are going to be coming out. Anything like that is important to know, because you need to know the balance, the time on your cooldowns of the timer on your cooldowns versus how much time is left. Do you have the DPS? So obviously, if you only have 40 seconds or 35 seconds to DPS the boss before it goes into a phase, you shouldn't be using your cooldowns. That just isn't optimal. So, or you
want to save them then, you mean?
Yeah. Knowing that if you're going, well, not just saving them, but just knowing when to use them is the biggest difference. Timing has a lot to do with the rogue DPS. So let's just say that even though that the ad that the boss just popped up, and you use your cooldowns, but then that you're gonna bloodlust in the next minute and a half, you probably should wait that minute and a half, because that is going to make the biggest difference. You're getting the maximum DPS potential out of those abilities, which is the whole point. So, but like I said, it's all situational. But if you're down to the sub 5% and you guys are going crazy, and you're like, I don't know what to do, just press a button now. So it's just
tunnel vision.
So you feel your finger just heating up because you're pressing the button so fast. And of course, there's several minor DPS and utility cooldowns. Vanish, which obviously followed immediately up by Mutilate, causes their reduction of 75% of Mutilate, which is huge. Yeah. So that's obviously something you want to do.
Mutilate is the assassination spell, isn't it? So
Mm-hmm.
those two go hand in hand, jumping across the meadow.
Yep. Same thing with redirect and sprint. I mean, all that stuff can be redone through preparation. So if you're doing a lot of target switching and you just use your redirect and you use again, pop that prep, and you'll be ready to go. But I kind of have a bad habit of, I don't like to use my prep unless I feel like I've used all my abilities and then I want to reset them all, even though I know that's not the best thing to do. I guess it's just like a bad habit. It's like, well, I haven't used my sprint yet, so I'm not popping my prep. So I don't know why I'm so bad, but it's just, it is what it is. And then of course you have your survival cooldowns, such as Feint, Cloak of Shadows, Evasion, and Preparation comes back into play as well. So, but no, it's a great class to play. There's a lot going on. As I said, if you haven't picked it up in a while, or you're starting it out, it's kind of a lot to take in. If you look up all the information, if you check out places like Icy Veins, or I mean, my goodness, all the websites. There's a lot of websites. I don't know who I should mention, who I shouldn't mention, but that's why I'm not going to mention anyone else. But you'll see that there's just a boatload of information on these classes, and now all these specs, and what you should be doing for damage, and doing it where, and this is the cooldown you should use, and when and where and why and how. I mean, I could literally talk to you guys about this stuff for probably the next 3 or 4 hours. If you want to talk about situational awareness, and we haven't even touched on PvP. But of course,
Or
assassination
opening how you open, which is a science in itself, I would have to
exactly.
say. But,
So
that's something you do when you've mastered the rest, I'd say. At least for me. But it is true, I am still a beginner, I would say, when it comes to that, even though I've played a rogue since the kappa, but as an alt, obviously. So, yeah.
So what do you think?
I don't
Anything else you want to add? PvP is dead. Wow, it's true.
Chat room.
It's true. I've been looking at it periodically, but I haven't really been looking at it a lot. I've been trying to remember everything I was going to say with that hour break.
Yeah, that was a bit unfortunate. It was, but I mean, as I play main spec healers, like I play all the healers all the time. Yes, I am that kind of girl. But I mean, a dead DPS won't do any DPS, and as a rogue, you have so many cooldowns you can use that will help you stay alive, help you survive the doo-doo. And the AoE, I mean, Paint is an excellent ability for that. And I always love when I see the DPS using that. It gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling inside. And I honestly think that, it doesn't matter how good of a DPS you do, if that's all you do, if you know what I mean. You need to be an all-rounded player, do the survivability, do the CC. Oh, I miss CC. They should have more CC. Going back to the Kappa days, early Kappa days. But yeah, that is what I want to say.
I mean, my goodness, I'm looking through our notes, right? And there's just so much that we just haven't even touched on, and it's like, my goodness, I don't even know if this stuff's even, if I start talking about it, I'm going to start talking about it for the next half hour. So I don't even know if I should start. But the most important thing, like I said, is to make sure that you're using the abilities, knowing your abilities, and using them to its fullest potential. So, something else.
And that's what we're all about.
Well, something else we didn't touch on was tricks of the trade, and something that I used a lot when I played, and I had another rogue in my group, and I macroed tricks of the trade on him because of the damage increase, and that's something else you got to add in your rotation. So not only are you worrying about
a lot, haven't it?
Yeah, I mean, you're worrying about your mutilates, getting your mutilates up. You're using your mutilates so you can get your combo points. Then you're going to worry about your dispatch procs. Then you're going to make sure that you have slice and dice up. Then you're going to make sure you have 5-point ruptures constantly up. Then you have to make sure your tricks of the trade is being used on cooldown. You got to make sure to time out your cooldowns appropriately to make sure you're not kind of like hard capping yourself in terms of damage. Whether it's you're going to get a natural boost soon, whether it's through a bloodlust heroism, whatever, or even part of the mechanic of the fight, standing in something, or being in a certain beam or whatever, gives you a DPS increase. So you got to time all that stuff out. But then realizing once the boss is sub 35%, you got to only switch to dispatch and not mutilate anymore, which actually slows down your combo point generation because you only get one per hit of dispatch rather than a couple. You get out of mutilate. So it's not to mention then you also have your agility potions such as Vermin's Bite. It's one of those where when you use that, you gotta know when to use that. You gotta pre-pot.
You just have rogues circling around your head now. Vermin's Bite. I don't know anymore.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it can be a lot. So that's why hopefully we're here to help you out, to kind of give you a better direction, or maybe at least an idea of where to go and what to do with the class, and kind of where.
I feel like we should have another show, just continuing. But I guess we will be touching on the other specs as well, and there are a lot of similarities, obviously. So the rogue discussion will continue. I was just thinking about tricks of the trade. You need to have a look at what targets you put it on, because there are certain classes that are not very optimal, like classes that use, like Beast Mastery Hunters that use their pets as their main DPS.
Right. Warlocks, balanced feral druids.
Mm-hmm. And also, because they rely on dots a lot, right? Mm-hmm. Also, it's really good to keep track of your anticipation. with an add-on of some kind.
Yeah, the add-ons. Did you have the list of the add-ons that?
No, it's not. You just need like you can use weak auras, or if you have like LUI.
Weak auras is always really nice.
Yeah, definitely. You can
if you don't use
customize
that,
anything.
You need to be using weak auras. LUI obviously is a beautiful. It should be the standard nowadays. What people use for their basic interface, because it's so simple. You just install it. Literally, click the install button, and it's done. So that's and it's clean. It looks really nice. And there's a lot of stuff built in that helps you out. But with rogues specifically, you need things like weak auras. I mean, there's so much dotting and timing and all that. Where I mean, you don't have to care about the timing and the dotting and the target switching and knowing how long. If you get a 5-point in Venom, you have 6 seconds of that extra uptime for the increased damage and the increased the poison percentage. But knowing this makes you a better player. Knowing this will increase your damage, and knowing this will ultimately help your guild and your raid. So it's important that you take the time to figure that out and practice it and use those target dummies and kind of master the rotation, because it can be a lot. Sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming, especially not to mention all the stuff that I just said you have to do while still performing, while still not standing in bad, while still following the mechanics of the fight. It's very very overwhelming sometimes.
I see now that in the chat room that they recommend an add-on that's called Trick or Treat.
Yeah,
so
I've heard of that too.
Look that up.
I've heard of that. I've actually never used it personally, but I have heard of it. That was something I actually kind of want to write that down, because I will actually try that out tonight. See how I like it. But no, it's a lot. It's a lot of fun. It feels good when you get that rotation. It's really tight and it's really clean. And there almost comes to a point where it is, like I saw in the chat, it is almost muscle memory. You just kind of do it out of instinct. And I guess it's like that with every class, but it's more so the case with rogues, where there's just absolutely so much going on that if your brain isn't on autopilot, that sometimes taking those couple seconds back, wait, what do I do now? Wait, can cost you a significant chunk of your DPS. So, cool.
Cool. Did you just run out of words now? You just have the one word left.
There's always words to be said.
Yeah, you're very good at talking. It's true.
It is true.
I'm just sitting here nodding and going like, yeah, rogues.
I do it professionally. So, not this professionally. Clearly, I do talking professionally. But if you get anything out of this whole show, it should be this: BlizzCon was awesome, and if you didn't go, I'm sorry for you, because it was awesome.
Don't rub it in. That is so mean.
That's it. That's all I got to say about it. It was awesome.
That is so mean.
I'm sorry. All right. Well, on the going against my brain, where I want to talk more about everything under the sun when it comes to assassination rogues, we'll probably wrap this up that way. I don't keep rambling on about stuff. Do you have any shout-outs? Anyone you want to thank, or anything you want to say before we go off?
I want to thank the audio gods, because they were so merciful to us tonight.
Are you not entertained?
Exactly. Happy that behind the scenes that JR and Twist got together and solved it with this kind of temporary solution. Hopefully we'll have it sorted by next week. Otherwise, I'll just be sitting here looking like a fool, muted, silenced, or sapped, whatever CC you choose. Also, if there's anyone awake in the EU, I'd like to thank you for that. It's
very late over there for you now.
It's almost 5 a.m. I need to catch a train by 9.
Do you have a Starbucks nearby? Do you guys have a Starbucks that's close to you?
No.
You'll need a Starbucks.
we have other places, similar places, not
Okay.
specifically a Starbucks, no.
Okay.
But I don't drink coffee.
Oh, well, you'll need something. Red Bull. I know you
Yeah,
drink Red Bull. Don't even try to say you don't drink that.
trying to stay off the sauce, so don't tempt me.
Cool.
It is popular, but this, it's Sweden. We have 9 million people in total, yes. So
Yeah.
it's just a really, really big, the largest cities that might have Starbucks. Maybe
No.
the airport or something. I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I also want to thank JR and Twiz. If you don't know who JR is the guy who runs BlizzPro. He's he's the one of the big kahunas, so he's a really great guy, and he does a lot for the site and he does a lot for us. So you can't thank him enough. Obviously Twiz as well. He set me up with a lot of this stuff and helped me out with the audio portion and getting the graphic stuff done, and everyone else that did everything to help support the show. I appreciate it. Everyone that's in the EU as well. Yes, like she said, thank you very much for staying up late dealing with us. If there's that one person, that one guy's like, yeah, go me. Obviously, the sponsors for us, Ask Mr. Robot, Open Raid, and Steel Series. Gotta thank them as well. Thank you for all the other people that have come out. The big names.
Chat room for actually staying.
The big names, yeah.